Greetings and welcome to the Halloween edition of the Sliders Review. Alright, let's address the elephant in the room. I know it's not Halloween. Alright, that's long past. But when it came to my Halloween videos, I ran out of time and I couldn't upload everything I wanted to. So that's why I'm uploading them past Halloween. But if you stop and look at it like this, at some point in time, it's gonna be Halloween time again, October. So somebody eventually will stumble upon my videos and watch it around Halloween time. So yeah, and I'm here today to talk to you about how Scream 2 abandoned its theme plot of the copycat killer theme, but also it did not. See, the killers in the movie abandoned the plot somewhat, but the writers did not. And in fact, since the writers are the one who wrote the characters, technically they didn't even, the killers didn't even abandon the plot either. You really have to think outside the box. Now, I wanted to make this video back in October for like Halloween, but I ran out of time, so I'm making it now. And, you know, because I remember when I was watching Scream 2 last month, because I love that movie, I was all like, you know, after Casey Cooper and everything and Randy died, I'm just like, the plot was kind of like abandoned. So what happened and everything? So, if you don't know, in Scream 2, there are two killers. Both are like copycat killers of the first Scream movie. And in that, the killers, Mickey and Mrs. Loomis, they start killing only people in the order in which people died in the first movie. But then Mrs. Loomis got really pissed at Randy and killed him. Threw the entire like theme out the window after that. After that, the killers, so-called, wasn't killing people based on name recognition alone, but on the actual type of person. See, when they was killing people, the first person that Billy and Stu killed in Scream 1 off camera many years ago was Maureen Prescott. Then in the second movie, the two killers killed Maureen Evans. See, Maureen, see that? But then after the whole Randy killing, they just started killing people based on kind of like, you know, the type of person it was. And that's something a lot of people don't think about until you actually start thinking about it. So let me prove to you why I think the copycat killer theme was still in play throughout the entire movie. It's just people didn't really think about it because they wasn't really thinking outside the box. So like I said before, the very first people that Stu and Billy killed in Scream 1 was Maureen Prescott off camera. And that was many years ago. Now in Scream 2, the Mickey and Mrs. Loomis, they killed Maureen Evans. The two names are similar. Then the second person to die in Scream 1 was Stephen Orff. And then in Scream 2, the second person to die was, I'm trying to think of his name, Phil Stevens. So they got the whole Stevens thing, right? After Stephen Orff died in Scream 1, Casey Becker died. And then in Scream 2, it was C.C. Cooper, but C.C. stands for Casey. Now, after this name recollection alone, this is when the plot kind of like dropped, but not really. See, the next person to die in Scream 2 is Randy, the survivor of Scream 1. Now, Randy was stabbed in the leg and then shot in Scream 1, but he survived. So technically, he should have survived the second movie. But he pissed off Mrs. Loomis by making fun of Billy, her son. So she just mutilated his behind. And so this kind of threw things off loop, but it didn't, because you have to remember who died next in Scream 1. The next person to die in Scream 1 was the principal. It was a random killing. Why the killers killed him? Not quite sure. It's never really been explained. It could be because he really liked Sydney in a weird kind of way, and also because he suspended two guys that dressed up as like Ghostface, and those two guys were just like pranking Sydney, but those two guys were also friends of Billy and Stu. So they probably wanted a revenge killing. See, revenge killing. So since the principal was a random killing out of revenge, Randy also in Scream 2 was a random killing out of revenge. See? Now, the next person after the principal died in Scream 1 was Tatum, the best friend of Sidney Prescott and girlfriend to Stu Walker. Now, this is when things get a little dicey out of order in Scream 2. See, the best friend does die in Scream 2, but she dies after the rando person, the cop, in Scream 2. And so, like, Haley is the best friend now of Sidney Prescott in Scream 2. And she died, just like Tatum died, who is the best friend. But she died out of order. Who is the first person to die? Well, actually, you know what? Yeah. So, okay. So then, the next person to technically die after Randy in Scream 2 was both of the cops. See, they were trying to protect Sydney and Haley, and one cop died in the car crash, and the other one, also died in the car crash. But the second cop that died, it took him a good while to die. He died off screen. The tube went through his head, and he was just kind of like, not really gyrating, but kind of like spazzing a little bit. Technically, the second cop might not even have died, because we really don't know, because it was off screen. But both those cops, so let's pretend and say the one who died from because one had his throat slit and died, and the other one died in the car crash with a tube in his head. So anyways, those are two random killings, but we don't know if one actually happened. The one who got his throat slit might have survived. The one who had the tube in his head, it's unlikely that he survived, but hey, some people have survived worse than that. So let's just say one cop actually died for sure, right? That's a random killing. Well, who was the next random killing in Scream 1? The cameraman. And so the writers are still sticking to, like, the person that died in, so like the first movie. So since another random killing happened, this is now, like, still keeping to that, like, copycat killer thing. Now, once again, this is when things get a little bit dicey and stuff like that, because there aren't that many people left to, like, kill off in the movie. Now, Derek, the boyfriend of Sydney in the second movie, he died by getting shot by Mickey. And so that's her boyfriend. But if you remember, the next person to die in Scream 1 was Stu Walker, the boyfriend, and also the accomplice of that, of, like, Billy. So now the boyfriend angle has been taken off screen, or killed or whatever. And then lastly, The last person to die in the first Scream movie is Billy, the main killer himself, also the boyfriend of Sidney Prescott. And the last two people to die in Scream 2 is Mrs. Loomis and also Mickey. And those can, when it comes to the whole like Stu, Billy, Mickey, and Mrs. Loomis, they can be interchangeable. You can either say, okay, one died because it's the boyfriend, and the other died that is the accomplice. So, the whole Derek and Mickey thing, and even Billy, for the most part, can be still the same killing. And Mrs. Loomis, because she's related to Billy, can also be that whole Billy killing. So technically, they're not playing off the name thing, but they're playing off the type of like person, and I guess you could say like that persona and what they played in like the movie. So even though there was one extra killing in Scream 2, technically the writers never gave up on the copycat thing. You just have to think outside the box and everything. And I figured that out once I started thinking about the whole best friend angle. That wasn't that spooky. Alright, well, I shall talk to y'all later. Bye.